Welcome to the Sixcast, a podcast where we discuss real-world strategies, tips, and stories that provide helpful insights for your digital transformation experience. In episode 6 of Sixcast, Varuna and Kithmini will be talking to the COO of LAUFT, Jesse Sharratt, about the social impact of technology and how it can bring together more people. Jesse will be talking about how there's no one right way to innovate.
But, other things like, my background's in philosophy. I've traveled all over the world. I've lived in 8 different countries, traveled to about 50. I speak 4 or 5, maybe 6 languages, depending on how good I feel that day. But, the most important thing I think that we can bring to the table is a diversity of experience. And there's been a lot of attention given to diversity, but without creating an inclusive environment that actually helps people share the experience that's tied to the diversity, you're just paying lip service to it. You're just tokenizing diversity.
Yeah.
And, what we've really, and what I've noticed throughout my whole life, I lived in Egypt for 2 years during the Arab Spring. I've lived in Uganda.
Wow.
And in all of these different countries, the diversity of the reality of the experience that people had around things changes what logic would tell you that experience is. And, if it's like, someone might say, oh, coal is good because, it allows you to cook your food or whatever like that in a country like Uganda. But the bad part of it is that mining companies have gone into Uganda where there's less government regulation and mine the hell out of the country and take all the resources, continuing. I mean, the scramble for Africa in the 1800s, where the European colonial powers did that, that's continuing today in resource extraction through corporations.
Yeah.
So logically, you might go, oh, well, then people get cold, they can go home and cook their fire. But emotionally, it's like, no, this culture of exploitation has continued on this country. And
Absolutely.
It's just the difference between, I think, I had to learn about, I thought logic and rationality was all the business when I was coming out of philosophy. I thought, okay, I can be super dispassionate, remove my emotions. And then I met my wife and she's like, no, your emotions are what make you human. You need these emotions. You can't ever logic your way out of emotions. They're hardwired in you. So learn to be vulnerable with your emotions and connect with people through your vulnerability.
Yeah.
And, that's how I really try to build the team at LAUFT, is like, what are the different experiences that we each bring to the table? And, we have mothers and fathers and, parents and, children. Like, everyone plays a different role. And if you're only trying to get for them for the job description that you wrote, you miss on everything else that they've done throughout their whole life and they're bringing to the table in this moment. It's like, start teasing that out of them. And, the other thing, Kithmini, that you said is that, the traditional office has kind of expected you to behave in a certain way. And one of my favorite Einstein quotes is that if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will forever live thinking that it's stupid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you throw it in the river, it's the best swimmer, and you're like, holy shit, that's an impressive fish. If you're asked a monkey to climb the tree, oh yeah, it was really good at it. A giraffe, maybe not so much. We're all different. That's the point, right? We're all different.
Lean
That's
into
the
your
good
strength.
part.
You have to lean into your
strengths.
Yeah.
And the things that you think are weaknesses, they're not.
Mm-hmm.
They're part of the human experience.
Absolutely.
They're part of my weakness and your weakness and Waruna's weakness.
Yeah.
And we all have that. And I think what the COVID has shown us in this pandemic is that we have to stop performing for each other. We have to stop performing as, oh, I'm a CEO who reads 80 books a week and I wake up at 4 a.m. and do 3,000 push-ups and then I go, save 10,000 kids a day. It's like, no, stop.
Yeah.
Be real.
Be human.
You're
Be
human.
a human first.
Yeah.
And, I think if we can quit the performance and focus on the humanity and learn to be more vulnerable about our weaknesses with each other, where LAUFT will go, where the world will go, where social impact and change. And I think that would be a very exciting world.
Yeah. Jesse, it's really interesting because you're obviously very worldly. You have a great perspective on so many global issues, and you're working for somebody who's happens to be a visible minority. And I can't speak on behalf of Graham, but I can speak on behalf of myself and probably Varuna, is that we are raised with this idea of like keeping everything internalized and never to speak about them. Gratefully, I was born and raised in Canada, so like I have a different point of view. It usually comes out the minute I step outside of the house. When I was young, and I was like, I'm a totally different person. I'm like, where's the club at? But inside the house, I was like, you know what? I'm very quiet, and I would keep everything like internalized. And unfortunately, when it did end up getting to an apex where we did discuss it, it was not a discussion anymore. It was a rebellious force. And I was like, no, I'm not going to stand for this. And no, I don't like this. And no, this is not okay. And so when you bring that into a workforce, when you take somebody like that, when you take I'm definitely, it's not the, I'm not unordinary in any way. There's a lot of people who are raised that way, and you take them into a corporate environment, and then they're like, okay, you know what? I'm looking at this as like an authoritative figure, and I'm looking at my boss as somebody that I cannot have fun with, and I can't really show them a side of weakness because I might be written up. I might end up being punished. I might end up having to leave this job that is my only security and finances because my parents don't have generational wealth. My parents don't have money, and they won't be able to support me if I don't do well in this. And I think I was probably against the grain many times where I was like, I cannot stay here. And I would leave prematurely. And it came back to me to be like, you know what, this isn't the right way to do this. And this isn't the proper way to handle the problem. However, it was an escape, and I was in an influx. And I was feeling this fight or flight. And I was like very scared. And I was very like, I had a lot of trepidation and anxiety about these experiences. And there was something reminiscent about the punishment of like this potential punishment and removal of security. And I think that really stands true for many people, many workers. And I've realized through my experience going through what I did is that so many other women and men told me about workplace harassment or employee situations where they just didn't feel heard, or they weren't seen, or they had a horrible manager that just bullied them. And we normalize these experiences. And so I think when we take this full circle and go back to the drawing board and say a work from home environment, is that the solution? Do people feel more safe or secure there? And that is a question. That is a legitimate question. Can people feel safer there and feel like more manageable and they can be productive? I think the world has worked for years and years. We started as an agricultural society where people are on the field, and then we transitioned to workplaces, and we learn to adapt with one another, and to be around other people is in itself like a family unit. I think what we need to do is like things like having a loft space, for example, and I bring this back to you because this is the company that you're supporting and you're really promoting, is that it gives us that 2-day split where, you know what, I need a break from having this experience. I need to be away. I need to be at my home to decompress. I need to get some of my stuff done, like that matters to me and my family. But then I have 3 days and I go back to the workplace, and I'm probably happier, and I'm probably more trusting, and I'm probably more open and inviting because I miss them and because I want to engage again. And I want to be happy with them, and I want to be playful with them. And then you have maybe one day on a Friday where it's like everyone's like, no, let's just use a workspace instead. And let's commit to doing that for the entire calendar year. And, things like that really improve like the function and the flow of how the operations.
Finding the right balance is so important. And
so important for balance.
Yeah, it's very hard to find, is work from home or work from anywhere is the right solution, working from the office. What's the right way of doing this?
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Sixcast and learned a bit more about how to set goals, the importance of strong performance, and bringing ideas to life.